right here.
I think I can speak without a mic.
Go ahead.
Over there. Got a microphone.
Here, you go ahead real quick.
Hello, Mr. Secretary. My name is Janet Jankura, and I had a question about your interface with the other departments and agencies in terms of their roles in renewable energy and just what they're doing. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Janet. Go ahead. That's your question.
It almost sounds like you're from the city of Cleveland because you hit all of our touch points. And, thanks for coming to Cleveland. Cleveland has spent a lot of time and money on working on our image, and there's a term has been tossed around. We're actually a green city on a blue lake, or is it a blue lake and a green city? Something like that. How did you seem like you have the information that there is a lot happening in Cleveland as far as our natural assets, the lake, the park, and all these other things happening. How does the rest of the country and the rest of the world find out about all the great things in Cleveland that you just talked about?
What is your name?
I'm Andrew Cox from Tri-C, which is the community college in the area.
Thank you, Andrew. Any other questions? It's not every day I come to Cleveland, so I better take all your questions. I'm gonna take all your questions, and then I'll try to answer them all at once. Yes.
From the US EPA, and welcome to Cleveland. And first, I'd like to say how much this community is indebted to John Debo for the wonderful job he's done with Cuyahoga Valley National Park. And I'd like to ask you, as being a fellow Fed, what do you see as the challenge you'd like to face most with the other federal departments and agencies under your term?
Okay. Okay, Lynn, and then back here. Back there, and then over here.
Thank you. My name is Barry. I'm with Eaton Corporation. We're a diversified industrial manufacturing company that provides power management solutions to most of the energy industries you mentioned. There's one energy source that you have not mentioned, and that in fact in the Waxman-Markey bill only gets 2 mentions in 900 and some odd pages. That's nuclear. And I wonder if you explain why nuclear doesn't seem to be a part of the administration's energy efficiency solutions going forward. Thanks.
And is it Barry or Perry? Barry? Barry. Okay, thanks, Barry. Okay. Right here.
I'd like to see if you could give us some insight into President Obama's governance style in terms of how our cabinet meetings run. Are they tightly controlled or wide-ranging discussions? What sort of interaction do you have with the president outside of cabinet meetings? How do you get your points conveyed to him, or how does he convey his points to you? So I'd just like to have some insight in terms of how the administration runs. Sanjeev.
Sanjeev?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Right here.
I'm Lorraine Vega, and I'd like you to comment on the agency's role on Indian affairs and what your priorities are.
Okay, Lorraine. Any other questions? Yes, go ahead. Just say it. You just say it.
I have a question about transmission siting and how we're going to get the renewable energy from all the areas where there's bouncing energy is generally less popular.
What is your name?
My name is Daniel Brown.
Daniel Brown on transmission siting. Okay. I've been getting the signal that we have to go, so I can't answer any of the questions. Not really. Let me first say, in terms of the interface with other sister agencies and priorities, we work very hard with our other sister agencies. I will be, for example, with Secretary LaHood on transportation in Montana and Colorado and other places where we recognize that we have a major role and a connection between roadways and our national parks facilities. And so we work very well. We have an interdepartmental team, an energy team with Carol Browner at the White House that helps coordinate with Nancy Sutley at CEQ and the Department of Energy, Department of Agriculture, Department of Housing and Urban Development, Interior, and others. And so we recognize that it's important for government not to operate in stovepipes and silos, and that we really are a better government for the people when we are able to work together and make sure that we are not that we're delivering the most that we can. Andrew, in terms of how people find out about the great resources that you have here in Cleveland, I've always thought that one of the best investments that could ever be made is in terms of tourism promotion. Some states do better than other states, but the fact is that there are great crown jewels that you have here. And for more people to know about what happens here in northeastern Ohio with the Great Lakes, with the great rivers, with the great outdoors, I think is a great selling point because it brings tourists here, it brings companies here, and I think it's something that you as a city club as well as the chamber, and I know there are representatives of the chamber here, can continue to do that, to try to tell the rest of the world the story of the great assets that the vicinity of Cleveland has for this country. In terms of Lynn, the greatest challenges I think that we have in terms of cross-cutting things, they're the challenges that President Obama works on, and it's what we try to work on as well. We have the great challenge of bringing our world back together again and to restore America's respect around the world, and we're making headway there. We have the great challenges of our time here in our own nation relative to the domestic issues. First and foremost, it's the economy and making sure that we start creating jobs again, because without quality jobs, people can't have a quality life. It's about health care and moving forward with a health care reform package that delivers health care to all Americans at an affordable price. And so that's something that is going on right today as we speak in the halls of Washington with conversations about how we move a health care reform agenda forward. And in terms of my own department and my work with other departments, the issues we talk about are cross-cutting. And so when we talk about energy, we're trying to walk the talk. And so many of our national parks, we do have solar photovoltaic that we have started to put in. We have other energy efficiency measures that we have in facilities at the Bureau of Reclamation and at the BLM. And so we try to make sure that we're walking the talk on the things that we're working on and that in fact are cross-cutting. On transmission siting, David, it is a very important issue. We have an interagency group that I have helped form, which is attempting to come up with what will be the 21st electronic highway system for America. We still transport most of our electrons over the grid that was created in the days of Thomas Edison. We need to move forward with a new grid that is much more efficient and that takes energy from places where it's produced to the places where it's going to be used, and that will be it's a major part of our energy agenda for the administration. On nuclear, nuclear is part of our energy portfolio. The president was clear during the campaign that nuclear would be on the table as we looked at how we move forward. As you know, there are some states, Illinois, for example, that produces a very significant percentage of its energy from nuclear. The nation of France, 80% of its energy comes from nuclear. And so we have opened up the page to having nuclear be a part of the energy portfolio for the country. Indian Affairs, let me just say that Larry Echohawk became the Assistant Secretary for Indian Affairs, was confirmed by the Senate about a week ago. Had a meeting with him last week or not last week, just yesterday, about 24 hours ago. And we have an agenda. It's about law enforcement and bringing back the rule of law into reservations where, frankly, we have crime rates that are 8 times higher than they are in non-Indian reservation settings, where we have sexual assaults that, frankly, are scary in terms of the numbers that you actually see on what's happening in reservations. We have economic development challenges where unemployment can hit as high as 50%, 60%, and it's a way of life on the reservations. We have major challenges there. And in Interior's role, this is a job I didn't quite appreciate this, but I'm the superintendent of about almost 200 schools and tribal colleges.